Trial attorney Mark Geragos. Mark, it's a pleasure to have you on. Look, I know you've seen all the angles by now. You've digested it here. What's your legal breakdown of the actions taken by the agent?
I hate to be a cynic, but I think what's going to happen here, it's going to unfold that the feds have already laid the groundwork for saying this was an appropriate shooting. You're going to find that I think the state is going to have the exact opposite viewpoint. It's going to be a battle of these so-called experts. You're going to have police practices experts, in both federal and state, who are going to take diametrically opposing views. This is a movie, unfortunately, I've seen too many times before, in terms of the officers saying, look, I was just defending myself in what I was trained to do. And there's going to be pushback along the lines of, no, you didn't. This was an excessive force shooting, and tragically somebody died. So I think that's the battle lines. It's already been laid out. And politics aside, I think this is something you see in the criminal justice system all too often.
Mark, do you think it is irresponsible of anyone on either side of the aisle to determine what the facts are, what actually happened before the investigation plays itself out? Or do you think there is enough evidence at this point for some of those conclusions to be made?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I watched a little bit while I was waiting of the vice president's press conference, and I agree with him to a point. Why to let it unfold? I always say that, because what you first see, or at least the spin that comes out on either side, is generally not the case. And I always caution, let it unfold and understand. When you start taking positions, though, that presuppose you know the facts, that's where we get into these fights. And that's unfortunately what's already crystallized here. And that's what I would caution against.
All right. And of course, our borders are Tom Homan agrees with you, said let the investigation play out. Mark Geragos, always great having you on American Agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's get more reaction from former Sheriff for Hennepin County, Richard Stanek. Sheriff, great to have you with us here. You may have just heard lawyer Mark Geragos saying he thinks, listen, it's irresponsible of anyone on either side to form and share an opinion on exactly what happened just yet. We have Tim Walz saying that Kristi Noem is acting as, quote, to quote him, judge, jury, and executioner. But then again, the mayor of Minneapolis pretty much did the same thing yesterday, but with a different opinion.
Well, I don't agree with attorneys very often, but I agree with what Mark said in this case, which is, let the facts come out. Let the investigation continue. There's still a lot of body cam footage, cell phone video, audio, eyewitnesses, people who saw some part of that. It is going to take days, if not weeks, for that investigation to be complete. Look at this in its totality of what has occurred, and then you'll be able to make a judgment as it proceeds, whether the U.S. attorney or the Hennepin County District Attorney.
Sheriff, let me ask you this. What's the training? When you were sheriff, for deputies, for just anyone in law enforcement? I know you've gone through it here. If you're hit by a car, what's the appropriate response by law enforcement?
Well, if a vehicle, whether it's half, three-quarter ton pickup truck or the same in an SUV, is driving straight at you in an enforcement action and you're telling them to stop, they stop, or you're going to get run over. You're going to get smushed. Apparently, this ICE agent, from what I gather through this morning's media stories, he was the victim of an assault earlier, just several weeks ago, where he was seriously injured by a vehicle that ran him over. I don't encourage people to stand in front of vehicles as they're moving like this, but they had every right, it appears, to detain her. And what's even more troubling is that officer there that is reaching into the driver's side door. Yeah. And, then she drives away with him there. Being dragged, that's not a good thing, being dragged down the street.
No, it's certainly not. We've heard from the vice president, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, that particular ICE agent had been dragged previously in the summertime, had to get many stitches in his leg here. Richard Stanek, sir, appreciate you coming on. Good to see you.